Welcome to today's deep dive. Today we are digging into a really comprehensive 2026 guide on multi-vendor marketplace platforms.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
It really is. And our mission today is pretty simple. We want to save you from a completely catastrophic platform migration like 18 months from now.
Right, exactly, which happens way too often.
Because building a digital marketplace is, it's exactly like building a massive skyscraper. You spend months digging this giant hole in the middle of the city, moving dirt, pouring thousands of tons of concrete into the ground.
Yeah, and it's the most boring, invisible part of the entire construction process.
Totally. Nobody sees the foundation, but it dictates absolutely everything that follows, right?
I mean, think about it. If you pour the foundation for, say, a cozy 2-story house, and then halfway through construction you suddenly realize your business actually demands a 50-story high-rise, you're in serious trouble.
Oh, yeah. You can't just bolt 48 more floors onto a residential basement.
No, you literally have to tear the entire structure down. You have to rip up the concrete, start over from zero. And the source material highlights this as just a grim reality for digital entrepreneurs.
Right.
Businesses routinely outgrow their digital infrastructure right at the exact moment their growth momentum matters most.
Which is just heartbreaking. So we want to equip you to pour the right concrete the very first time. Okay, let's unpack this. You likely already understand the basic marketplace model, right?
Yeah, we are talking about your standard Amazon, Etsy, or Alibaba.
Exactly. You own the digital mall, but you don't actually hold the inventory. The sellers do. But what this 2026 guide reveals is the hidden, intense technical complexity of harmonizing what it calls the triad.
The triad, right, because a traditional e-commerce store really only has to worry about the buyer.
Yeah, just one user base?
Exactly. But a multi-vendor marketplace has to juggle 3 entirely separate user bases simultaneously, and they are all interacting with the exact same data in real time.
Which is where it gets crazy.
It really does. You've got the buyers, the vendors, and the admins. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, a good platform doesn't just host products. It actively harmonizes these 3 groups.
Setting the foundation for scalable growth. Because buyers, they demand that seamless, one-click Amazon-style experience, right?
Oh, totally. When a buyer puts items from 3 different sellers into one cart, they don't care about the back-end logistics.
Oh, they just want to click buy once and track a single order. They don't care that it's coming from 3 different warehouses.
Right. But vendors, on the other hand, require this sophisticated dashboard to manage their specific inventory, update listings, track payouts, and they need to do all that without needing a computer science degree to operate it.
Yeah, it has to be intuitive. And then there is you, right, the listener, the marketplace admin. You need a centralized command center.
Exactly. You have to monitor commissions, approve or ban vendors, and route thousands of micropayments across the ecosystem.
You have to do all that without physically reviewing every single transaction.
Which is impossible once you scale.
Right. So harmonizing that triad requires a flawless technical architecture. Now, the guide breaks down 5 primary architectures, and picking the wrong one is precisely what triggers that dreaded 18-month migration trap we talked about.
It's the biggest trap out there.
So let's start with the architecture everyone seems to naturally default to, which is SaaS, or software as a service.
Yeah, the easy button. Providers handle the cloud hosting, the security patches, the automatic updates. It is incredibly fast to deploy.
Wait, SaaS is easy to set up and handles all the updates? Why wouldn't everyone just choose SaaS and be done with it?
Well, the catch comes down to absolute control and financial scalability. Think of SaaS like relying entirely on Uber for your transportation.
Sure.
You don't own the car, you don't pay for the oil changes, and someone else handles the driving. It gets you to your destination with 0 friction.
Right.
But you cannot change the radio station. You cannot repaint the car. And if your business suddenly requires you to take 100 Uber rides a day, the per-ride cost will quickly bankrupt you. Ah, I see.
SaaS platforms often scale their monthly subscription fees aggressively as your transaction volume or your vendor count increases.
Right, so you're penalized for growing.
Yeah.
And you're locked into their specific hard-coded workflows, aren't you?
Exactly. Like, if you need to implement a custom, say, 3-step approval process for a new vendor to list a specific chemical product, the SaaS provider system simply won't allow it.
Wow. That is a massive roadblock if your business model requires any nuance.
It really is.
So the natural pivot there is to look at open source architecture. You get the actual source code. Total freedom, 0 vendor lock-in, no restrictive monthly feature limits.
Right. You own it.
But, returning to the car analogy, open source is like buying a beautiful chassis and a box of high-end parts, and then being told you have to build, tune, and maintain the engine entirely by yourself.
Yeah, good luck with that unless you're a mechanic.
Exactly. You take on the full burden of hosting the software, deploying critical security patches, and fixing the plumbing every time a new browser update breaks your checkout page. Which means your internal IT budget just skyrockets.
Oh, absolutely.
The dedicated developers you have to hire just to maintain an open source marketplace will frequently cost substantially more than the SaaS subscription would have in the first place.
So it's a painful dilemma. You've got the restrictive compounding cost of SaaS versus the heavy maintenance burden of open source.
Yeah, and that dilemma is driving a massive shift toward the third architectural option.
Headless platforms. Here's where it gets really interesting. The mechanics of headless architecture are absolutely fascinating. The source emphasizes this heavily.
Yeah, it's a total game changer. A headless platform essentially decapitates the software.
Right. It physically separates the front end, so the visual website, the buttons, the mobile app, your buyers actually interact with it, separates that from the back end.
Which is the invisible database executing all the complex math, routing the split orders, storing the vendor data. They are not tangled up in the same code base anymore.
They communicate across an API, right?
Exactly, an application programming interface. Functionally, an API is just a digital bridge that allows two entirely separate systems to instantly trade packets of data in milliseconds.
So because the visual front end and the mathematical back end are decoupled, you can completely redesign your mobile app interface from scratch.
Yeah, without risking a catastrophic, system-wide crash in your payment processing engine. This separation grants immense speed and honestly limitless flexibility.
But the implementation cost is astronomical, isn't it?
Oh, it's massive. You are essentially wiring a custom-built brain to a custom-built body.
You aren't just hiring one web developer. You have to hire front-end specialists to build the interface, back-end specialists to manage the database, and API engineers to make sure the two actually talk to each other correctly.
Right. The initial capital expenditure for headless is severe.
Okay, so that's 3. What about the others?
Rounding out the 5 architectures, we also have turnkey platforms, which are ready out of the box with a one-time license fee.
So kind of like buying a pre-furnished condo.
Exactly. It offers a solid middle ground, but with hard limits on deep code customization.
Makes sense.
And finally, self-hosted solutions where you purchase the software outright, but install it on your own private cloud servers.
Which grants you strict control over user data without recurring platform fees.
Right, though you do retain that heavy server management burden we talked about with open source.
Okay, so a bulletproof architectural foundation is great, but it doesn't mean anything if it fundamentally clashes with what you are actually trying to sell.
No, not at all.
I mean, if headless gives you ultimate flexibility and turnkey gives you speed, how do you actually decide? The text argues forcefully that form must follow function.
Yes. We have to map the technology to the strategic reality of your business model.
So what's the first step there?
The very first strategic variable you must define is the audience structure. Are you operating as B2C, B2B, or B2B2C?
Okay, let's break that down. We all interact with B2C, business to consumer, every day.
Right, buying shoes online.
B2B is business to business, but B2B2C introduces an entirely different mechanism.
It does. It's where a business utilizes your platform to sell to another business, which is then facilitating a sale to the end consumer. And all of this is tracked within your single ecosystem.
That sounds incredibly complicated to code.
It is. A platform coded for a simple B2C retail checkout will completely buckle if you try to force a B2B2C workflow through it.
Because B2B transactions require custom wholesale pricing tiers.
Yeah, pricing tiers, minimum order quantities, and request to quote modules instead of immediate buy now buttons.
Right. Purchasing a fleet of industrial tractors is fundamentally different from adding a pair of socks to a shopping cart.
Exactly. The software has to understand the corporate hierarchy of the buyer's organization.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A B2B checkout might require the floor manager to request the tractor, the procurement officer to verify the supplier, and the finance director to digitally sign off on the purchase order.
And all that happens before a single dollar ever moves.
That's intense.
Uh,
So it's the second variable.
The second variable is the actual nature of the transaction. What exactly is moving through the platform? Is it physical goods, services, digital downloads, time-based rentals?
Because moving physical boxes requires deep, real-time API integrations with freight carriers, right?
Yes, to calculate dynamic shipping weights across multiple zones.
But if you are building a marketplace for, say, freelance graphic designers, your platform needs to handle milestone-based escrow payouts, hourly time tracking, and secure, massive file delivery systems.
Completely different needs. A platform perfectly optimized for shipping logistics will fail completely at managing calendar time slots.
It's like buying a highly customized sports car to run a moving company. I mean, great tech, totally wrong application. You can't fit a sofa in the passenger seat.
That's a great way to put it.
So you, the listener, think about your own goals. Are you selling physical goods locally, or do you need custom, quote, requests and approval processes for a global B2B operation?
Because scaling across borders introduces a whole new nightmare of localization.
Oh, DAXs and languages, right?
Yes. International expansion forces your platform to dynamically process multiple currencies in real time, translate the user interface seamlessly, and, most critically, manage incredibly complex local tax regulations.
Tax compliance alone can completely sink a marketplace.
Easily. Think about it. If a buyer in Germany purchases a digital software license from a vendor in Japan, transacting on a platform hosted in the United States.
Who exactly collects the value-added tax?
Right, and at what specific regional rate? If your chosen architecture does not feature a natively integrated tax rule engine capable of executing that logic instantly, you will be facing massive compliance fines.
Okay, so once you know exactly what you are selling and to whom, you require the daily mechanical features to actually execute the strategy.
The operational non-negotiables?
Yes, because the illusion that e-commerce is easy shatters the second you look at the raw mechanics of order management and payment splitting.
Payment splitting is the ultimate stress test for any marketplace infrastructure.
Let's walk through an example of that, because this is wild. Imagine a buyer visits your site and places a handmade wooden table from vendor A in California,
Okay.
a vintage jacket from vendor B in Texas, and a digital music file from vendor C in London, all into one single shopping cart. They click Pay Once.
Right. And in a fraction of a second, your platform has to ping a payment gateway to verify the buyer's funds.
Okay, standard so far.
Then it has to instantly shatter that single payment into distinct financial fragments. It routes the money to a temporary digital escrow account.
Wow.
It must calculate the varying state taxes for California and Texas, hold back your specific 10% administrative commission for the physical goods, calculate your entirely different 15% commission for the digital good.
Which is vendor C.
Right. And then securely release the remaining exact funds to 3 completely different bank accounts around the world.
That is just doing that securely, while simultaneously generating distinct shipping labels and notifying each vendor only about their specific portion of the order. It requires a highly sophisticated algorithmic routing engine.
It really does. Furthermore, think about refunds.
Oh, no.
What if the buyer returns the jacket to Texas but keeps the table and the music?
Your platform has to reverse only one fraction of the transaction.
Exactly. It has to claw back only the tax associated with Texas and adjust your admin commission proportionately, all without touching vendor A or vendor C's payouts.
If your platform relies on manual spreadsheets to calculate those splits at the end of the month, your operations team will be drowning in administrative debt by the time you hit 50 transactions a day.
They'd quit. And what's fascinating here is that this overwhelming complexity is exactly where the financial reality of running a platform gets murky.
Yes, the starting price trap.
The guide highlights this severe danger. The sticker price advertised on a software vendor's website is never the actual total cost of ownership.
Never. The hidden costs are where platforms quietly bleed businesses dry.
You might see a SaaS platform advertising a seemingly reasonable $299 a month.
Which sounds great.
But what the pricing page buries in the fine print is that the tier restricts you to exactly 200 active vendors. The second vendor, 201 registers, you are automatically bumped to the enterprise tier at $2,000 a month.
Ouch. And you also have to calculate the payment processing margins, right?
Yeah. Frequently, marketplace platforms take a hidden per-transaction percentage cut on top of the standard fees already extracted by processors like Stripe or PayPal.
And do not forget API call fees. If you chose a headless setup, or if you rely heavily on third-party integrations for your shipping calculations and CRM data, those external services frequently charge you based on the sheer volume of data requests.
Exactly. Every time your marketplace pings FedEx for a shipping rate, that is an API call.
Which means your operational baseline scales exponentially, not linearly.
Yeah, a platform that appears incredibly affordable in year 1 can completely consume your entire profit margin by year 3 simply through integration fees and tier bumps based on gross merchandise value.
This is why the source is absolutely adamant. You cannot sign a contract, based solely on a polished sales demo.
Never. A skilled sales engineer knows exactly which buttons to click in which order to make a convoluted system appear frictionless.
They're doing a magic trick. You must demand a free trial or a dedicated sandbox environment. You have to physically log in, simulate onboarding a difficult vendor, run a complex split cart transaction applying your most convoluted commission rules, process a partial refund, and verify if the platform's accounting actually matches your expectations.
You have to test reality. But if SaaS traps you in scaling fees, open source drains your development budget, and headless requires massive upfront capital, how are companies actually deploying these systems in 2026?
Right. So what does this all mean? The guide maps out a landscape of 7 major platforms dominating the market. Rather than just reading the list, let's figure out who should actually use what, because the tools solve very different problems.
That's a good approach.
Let's start with a scenario. You're an entrepreneur launching a hyperlocal food delivery app or a multi-vendor grocery marketplace. You need a robust database, but you also need native iOS and Android apps immediately, and you refuse to spend millions building them from scratch.
Okay, so that specific scenario is where Enatega shines. The text highlights it as a white label, self-hosted solution.
And the white label mechanism is crucial here, isn't it?
Crucial. White label means the developers provide you with the fully functioning, pre-compiled software, including the front-end mobile apps, and you legally apply your own branding, color schemes, and logos over the interface.
So the end consumer has absolutely no idea they're utilizing third-party code.
Exactly. It is an incredibly aggressive, fast way to deploy a highly complex delivery ecosystem without the astronomical development time of headless.
Okay, but what if you are a bootstrap startup, prioritizing long-term cash flow over immediate deep customization, and you absolutely refuse to be held hostage by recurring monthly SaaS subscription fees?
Then YoCart is the strategic play for that founder. It is a turnkey architecture powered by a one-time license fee.
So you purchase the software once, and you own the perpetual right to use it.
Right. It features the necessary multi-vendor management tools baked natively into the core, allowing you to bypass the subscription scaling trap entirely.
Nice. Now, contrast that approach with a completely different business profile. An established company already running a highly successful single-vendor retail store or a massive content blog on WordPress.
Okay.
They want to pivot into a multi-vendor marketplace, but they do not want to migrate away from the content management system they have spent years optimizing for search engines.
That's a very common scenario. And Docan represents the smartest financial move for that specific pivot. Docan is an open source plugin engineered strictly for WooCommerce.
So it bolts directly onto your existing WordPress infrastructure.
Exactly. It transforms your current single-store environment into a multi-vendor hub, allowing you to invite sellers into your ecosystem without tearing down the digital house you have already built.
That's incredibly efficient. What about for mid-sized companies that require incredibly robust, built-in marketplace features immediately out of the box, but still demand absolute sovereignty over where their data is hosted for compliance reasons?
For them, CSCart Multivendor is a major player. It is licensed and self-hosted, striking a calculated balance between turnkey operational speed and strict data control.
Okay, but what if a founder has absolutely zero coding skills? Like none. They just want to launch a highly niche local marketplace, say, for vintage watch repair services by this weekend.
By this weekend.
Yeah, and they refuse to manage cloud servers or security patches.
They are looking at ShareTribe. ShareTribe leans heavily into the no-code SaaS architectural model.
No-code is huge right now.
It is. It's designed precisely to get niche, service-based, or rental-based marketplaces off the ground with minimal technical friction. The trade-off, of course, is that you are firmly locked into their SaaS pricing tiers and their specific user interface limitations.
Right. On the absolute opposite end of the technical spectrum, the guide highlights Adobe Commerce, formerly known as Magento.
Yes, the heavyweight champion for medium to large-scale enterprises. It relies on highly customizable open-source architecture.
So if your B2B2C global operation requires 50 different local tax engines, complex multi-tiered corporate purchase approvals, and hyper-specific API integrations with legacy logistics software,
Magento has the raw architectural power to handle it, provided, of course, you possess the massive development budget required to tame it.
naturally. Finally, there's a massive segment of businesses already anchored deeply in the Shopify ecosystem. Now, Shopify is traditionally engineered as a single-vendor retail platform.
Right, but instead of abandoning Shopify entirely to build a marketplace from scratch, The guide notes you can utilize specific marketplace application integrations.
Like ShipTurtle, right?
Exactly. You use apps like ShipTurtle to effectively retrofit your single store into a multi-vendor operation, leveraging the apps to manage the complex commission splits and vendor dashboards.
So the main takeaway from analyzing the 2026 landscape is really that the concept of an objective best platform is a myth.
Total myth. The optimal platform is simply the one that aligns mechanically with your specific triad, your unique buyers, your specific vendor workflows, and your administrative oversight while scaling without consuming your profit margins and hidden fees.
Right, because the technical foundation you choose dictates your daily business reality.
There.
But synthesizing all of this, especially looking at the source's heavy warning regarding the sheer cost and disruption of migrating once you have an active ecosystem,
Yeah.
this raises a much deeper strategic question about power dynamics.
It really does. The source tells you to make the dashboard incredibly intuitive so your vendors remain happy and manage their own inventory seamlessly, right?
Yeah.
But consider the reality when your marketplace successfully scales to thousands of active sellers. They become completely reliant on your infrastructure to feed their families.
But simultaneously, you become completely reliant on their volume to maintain your valuation.
Exactly. When migrating to a new platform becomes impossibly expensive, and any system downtime means thousands of vendors instantly lose their daily income, who actually holds the real power in your digital ecosystem?
Oh, wow. That's a fascinating way to look at it.
Is it you, the admin, who technically holds the administrative keys to the unchangeable digital infrastructure? Or is it the vendors whose collective transaction history, active product listings, and sheer volume make altering that infrastructure completely impossible for you?
The foundation you pour doesn't just hold the building up, it locks you into the neighborhood forever. You are married to those vendors, and they are intimately married to that concrete.
That's the reality of a multi-vendor ecosystem.
So before you start digging that massive hole, make sure you know exactly what kind of skyscraper you are actually building. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this analysis saves you from an 18-month migration nightmare. Until next time, keep analyzing, keep questioning, and keep building.